Well, hello again. I have to remember to keep my eye right on that green dot. Otherwise, I look like I'm not paying attention to you, and that would just be rude. I'm Judy. I'm 79, and I plan to smash 80 because it's going to come up real quick. And I get to be 80 something for 10 years. So let's hope I get to talk about stuff that long. God willing, creek don't rise, and all the other stuff that they say along with it. So, in my time, there is one thing that I have discovered that has been the most healing. And it's not only is it self-hurt, but it's also self-healing. And that is unforgiveness. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? There's a screenplay I wrote, and the two little girls were in church, and the pastor says, if you don't forgive people your sins, you can't go to heaven. So the two little girls were talking afterwards, and the youngest one said to her sister, well, if you're going to forgive people, you're going to forgive, Skippy for breaking the dollhouse. And, the older girl just shook her head like, no. And she said, well, what are you going to do if you don't forgive their sins? What are you going to do with their sins? And the older sister said, well, I'm going to sell it. People like sin. They'll buy it. So when I think about sin and unforgiveness, sin is just, I believe it's a Greek word. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. That means missing the mark. And how many times in my life do I feel like I have missed the mark? And as a parent, if you don't think you've missed the mark, ask your children. They will point out explicitly every mark that you missed. So you always have that, a check for you to go back to. But unforgiveness is something that we all struggle with. And I know that I have struggled with it over the years because, in my book of The Forgiveness Dance, I write about how forgiveness is like doing the two-step. You take 2 steps forward and you take 1 step back. And it's what it feels like, in the names of, I can't think of the word, Dr. Doolittle. There was the push me, pull you. And that's what forgiveness feels like, the push me, pull you of life. And, if you don't forgive, it's going to destroy you because you're going to spend your whole life waiting for somebody else to apologize. And the very simple lesson that God taught me was don't wait for an apology. And I was like, I don't know. I love to argue with God. I said, what do you mean don't wait for an apology? And God said, look, you are a vessel that I created. I am the great potter and you are my clay vessel. And I gave you 4 clay vessels to walk this earth with. He said, if anybody hurts those 4 vessels, they don't owe you an apology. They owe me an apology because I own you. I created you. And that helped me to stop looking for an apology from various situations that I had gone through in my life, that I would feel so hurt and so confused and so angry. And that just would spin up all kinds of cortisol? Is that what they talk about when we blow up? Look how much cortisol. I have to remember to forgive more. So anyway, one minister said, I want to read it so that I get it straight here. It says, one minister said, don't curse it, rehearse it, and disperse it. Instead, reverse it by the power of forgiveness. Power of forgiveness. So remember, forgiveness is not forgetfulness. We're not going to forget what we've gone through. We don't have to go back into a situation that was either unsafe or just hurt us through and put ourselves back through it again. No, we're not going to forget, but we're going to forgive. And the best example of that was, Christ on the cross, when he's up there and there's 2 guys hanging on the cross on either side of him, totally guilty. And the one of them recognizes that Jesus really didn't have a reason to be hanging on that cross that he could see. He knew he was guilty. And from the cross, the Lord was saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And sometimes people have hurt you. They didn't really know what they did. They were so walking around inside of their own bubble that they didn't realize how much that they hurt you. So you're going to get to the core of that person faster if you don't try to dig in and try to figure out how you can arrange them so they're going to be perfect for you, and forgiveness is a big power that you have in your hand. And let me tell you something. If you want a superpower, forgiveness is just that. Use your superpower this week. Okay, I'm Judy. I'm 79 years old. And together, we're going to smash 80.